It's time for the Kim Hammer Show, where you'll learn how your state government affects you, your family, and community. Here's Kim Hammer.
Hey, good Saturday afternoon. Hope that you're having a great day and glad to have you on the Kim Hammer Show. Always want to remind you that if you want any information, please go up to the website, thekimhammershow.com, and you can get information about anything we talk about on the show. And also I keep articles up there that might be of interest to you if you're a solid conservative and you want to be kept informed on some things that are going on around the nation and around the state. Also encourage you, just check out the podcast. Think about all the major podcasts, Spotify for sure, and you can just share that if you would and kind of help push that out. I am encouraged. We've got some new sponsors that are picking me up that are going to come on September 1st, and so glad to have some sponsorships coming on. If you'd like to help sponsor the show, just send me an email or just get hold of me through the website, and I'll be glad to respond to you and talk to you about the opportunities that are available there as well. All right, so what we're going to do today, I've got Representative Aaron Pilkington on the phone, and Aaron just had a brand new baby, so he's not in studio. He's where he's supposed to be, and we're going to talk about with the abortion law having with Roe versus Wade and the ruling, what some woke companies are trying to do a workaround, end around. He's got some ideas on that. Give him an opportunity to talk about that. And then we'll have Shane Broadway on for about 10 minutes to talk about tonight's Salt Bowl game that's going to be played over here at War Memorial between Benton and Bryant, a big game of the year. And so give a little information about that. And then supposed to be joined by Jonathan Dist, hopefully at the top of the hour in order to talk about the recent tax package that we passed and exactly some clarification on some misinformation that's been put out there about who benefits from it and who does not. So I think you'll all be interested in that because it will help the vast majority of taxpayers in the state of Arkansas, and we'll talk about the future as to what's coming down the line for that. But right now, I've got Representative Aaron Pilkington on the line. And Aaron, first of all, just give folks geographically what area you represent so they can have a little bit of understanding where you are and the population that you represent.
Sure. Thank you, Senator Hammer, for having me on. I represent District 69, which after redistricting is now District 45. It's all of Johnson County and a little bit of Pope County. So that's the cities of Clarksville, Lamar, Knoxville, Coal Hill, Hartman, and London and Augsburg, and the great city of Oark and Ozone too. So really in the heart of the River Valley. It's great. I've got Nuclear One in my district as well as University of Ozark. So a really great, wonderful jewel in the city. State, and so right in between Northwest Arkansas and Central Arkansas. So I was born a middle child, so I kind of joke that I'm a middle child district too.
All right. Well, there's with Roe versus Wade going away, there's a lot of moving pieces that have reacted to that. One of the moving pieces is what some companies, even some states, some cities, entities are trying to do to adjust to that. And I know that you have some ideas about that, and we've talked about it and seen some things that you've, prepared. So let me just open up the mic and ask you from your position, because I know you're a solid conservative. I know you're a solid pro-choice guy. From your position... Pro-life. Yeah, sorry, bad. Woo, I just seen if you were listening, the audience was listening. Sorry about that. Bad slip of the tongue. Pro-life, that you are a solid pro-life guy. So just talk about what you're seeing as far as the trend across the nation and maybe even drifting into the state here as far as how different companies and entities are reacting to this and some creative maneuvers that they're trying to put in place to do an end around.
Sure. So, as you know, the Dobbs decision came down from the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, and so what was great is here in Arkansas we had passed a trigger law that went into effect, which banned abortion in all cases except for life of the mother, which that also means ectopic pregnancies, medical emergencies, things like that. And so what you've had a lot of these companies do who are really in the stranglehold of woke C-suites or boards or whatever have said, what we're going to do is we're going to pay for you to go and get an abortion somewhere else. So when you think about it, you've got corporations like Starbucks and Amazon who basically would say, we're going to circumvent Arkansas law and the will of the Arkansas people, and we're going to have these employees go to states like Illinois or, I'm trying to think of some of the other closer states, Illinois,
California,
Virginia, and go get an abortion. And so, it's troubling on a couple of reasons. One is this is complete virtue signaling by these companies. They weren't doing this before the decision, and really they're just trying to gain clout. And because in reality, it's a very hollow gesture on their point. Because if they really said they support women and support choice, then they'd be offering paid family leave. And they're not saying they're going to offer that in conjunction with this as well. And so I tell people all the time, it's really sad. And it shows, I think, what some of these corporations think of their workers, especially their female workers, where it's like, hey, we'll give you money to go kill your baby so you can be back here at 5 or on Monday at 8 a.m. so you can make coffees for people. I mean, that's essentially what Starbucks is saying. They'd rather you kill your child in the womb than have your child and have paid family leave. And so it's interesting is obviously those conservatives who are trying to protect life, we're thinking, okay, how do we fix this problem? How do we fix this workaround that these woke corporations are trying to do? And really what the reality is if you read the Kavanaugh part of the decision, he says, you can't interfere with interstate commerce, so that makes it really hard. But he's 100% accurate on that. But what we can do is say, listen, if you're a company that's going to offer this benefit, what you need to do is also offer paid family leave. And that's really going to show people whether these companies are just virtue signaling and just only support abortion, or they really say they support women and give them an option. It's not really an option when you're only incentivizing one choice, right? I give people the example of if you have, if your company said, hey, we'll buy your house for you, but we'll give you the down payment for this house and not the other house. Well, guess which one everyone's going to pick every single time. And so there's that. And I tell people too, is they go, well, you're trying to put, you're putting mandates on companies, things like that. I'm saying, listen, I'm not putting a mandate on any company. Companies that choose to circumvent Arkansas law and circumvent the will of the Arkansas people, if they're going to pay for someone to get an abortion, they're going to have to also pay and offer paid family leave. And so what's interesting is I've been to a few legislative conferences and actually I've talked to members across the political spectrum. And it's funny because a lot of even Democrats say, no, I totally agree. They see right through the shallow gestures of these woke corporations and say, you're right. They're not being truthful and saying that they really support women. They just support one choice for women, which is abortion. So that's kind of the general gist of what I'm trying to do. I think, something else I tell people as well is you've already have, I think, 12 other states that have paid family leave on the books that these companies are operating in right now. And so to me, they're already used to that. If anything, because, we're not requiring them to offer that in Arkansas, we're essentially subsidizing that in other states. So I think it's a good move for Arkansas women so that they are supported. And, my hope is some of these corporations will say, listen, okay, we're going to back off. We're not going to be able to ship you across state lines so you can get an abortion and put it into it. But if for some reason they have the capital to stick to their liberal ideology, we're going to make sure that they also support choosing life as well. And I think that's the smart conservative move going forward. Because here's the thing, a lot of women, when they do say that they, unfortunately choose to terminate their pregnancy, they give, economic hardship as an example, things like that. Well, here's a great example. We're helping alleviate some of that. So I think it's a smart conservative move. I think it shows people too that, the pro-life movement wants to be compassionate. I want to help women and help them to choose life and feel that they're supportive. And I think this is a good step in the right direction for the pro-life movement, especially here in Arkansas, which is the most pro-life state in the nation.
So let me ask you, go into the mind of whoever's sitting in the boardroom somewhere dreaming this stuff up. Why would a company choose to get involved with the discussion about offering the abortions? You kind of hit on it a minute ago, but do you think it's the economic driver that, it'd be cheaper for the company to get the employee back to work sooner? Do you think that is just part of their overall agenda that they have bought into the woke mentality? Do you think they just, they're just that mad about the decision of the Supreme Court that they're going to do a workaround? Something's got to be driving the mentality of why a company would even choose to take this kind of a position to do this. Any thoughts on that?
Sure. I think it's multiple things. So I think for far too long, we as conservatives have allowed, these woke activists to bully and boycott companies that are conservative and that are Christian. And so a lot of companies don't want the headache. They have, these inclusive panels or committees within their companies that really all they do is just create more problems for the companies themselves. And so to appease them and to appease a vocal minority within their companies, within their shareholder group, and even just, the social media, um, vitriol that you see, to appease all that, they go, okay, we'll do this, and then that way people won't hate on us. I mean, if you saw a company come out and say, hey, we're going to offer paid family leave and not pay for your abortion, it's amazing. You would see all those liberal groups come after them. And so they know that, so they're scared, and so they're going to make a choice like this, that they're just going to offer abortion. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think, too, of course, you have this, you have these companies that they're based in California and Oregon and these, kind of hyper partisan liberal states that in their mind, they think they're doing some great deed and great virtue by doing this and think that they are somehow showing the world what a great company they are, when in reality, like I said, all they're really doing is just making sure that they go kill their child so they can get back on the assembly line and working for them. Because for them, it's cheaper to have your employee go get an abortion than actually pay for paid family leave, and then, of course, have to deal with, an employee that now has a child. But, it's funny, too, Kim, one of the things that people have been talking about for a long time, and you see sometimes Elon Musk talking about this, is like, in the United States right now, we're not producing enough children to actually have a workforce for the future. And so Canada's the same way, and even Mexico now, we don't have a replacement rate. We're not having enough children. And I think, honestly, these companies should realize if they actually want to build a better country and a better workforce in the future, we need to have more children, and we need to grow our population. This somehow that, people can only be successful through abortion and things like that, that's the message they're telling people. You can only be successful at this job and this career if you go and kill your child. It's wrong, and it's short-sightedness, and it's morally foolish, but it's also economically foolish for the well-being of the workforce in the future.
The absent of, and of course, sitting here, as conservatives talking about this idea, the mentality that you would even think about this opens up the door for criticism, to begin to wonder what is it that's driving your decision. As you were talking, I was thinking, well, if they have a baby that's aborted, then they don't have one more baby that's on their insurance plan if they're a self-insured company, which subsequently could cost them more money because now they have more kids on it. And maybe I'm just going off in the world of speculation, but if somebody's going to be sitting somewhere in a boardroom thinking about these kind of things and what the justification and rationalization is to it, I got to think that they're also driven by money, because that's what the big corporations are all about. What's the bottom line? How is it going to impact us? And what can we do in order to sustain our bottom line? Sometimes they think about the political fallout, the social fallout, the reaction of the citizens. And sometimes I think they measure the cost kind of like a auto manufacturing company saying, we can afford to have 20 deaths because we'll sell 10 million of these vehicles. We'll make enough money to pay it off. And that's a very calloused approach of the corporate world. But you talk about limiting the number of children, and I think about countries like China, where they've been down that social experiment. And now it's been long enough that they are experiencing the fallout from that. And it just doesn't seem that there is any good conclusion that you could come to other than people are either driven by the bottom line or they're driven by a narrative that they don't consider what the other side says.
Sure. Well, I think there is that component of it as well. You think about it, if you have a woman who is working for you, decides to keep her child, and then she goes on this, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, leave, they're having to pay for that. Then, yeah, you said they're also on their insurance now. They're also have to deal with, when the kid gets sick, that employee's going to have to call out, things like that. And it's, but, guess what? That's the reality of, having women in the workforce, and even, too, having men who, are involved fathers, I mean, trust me, there's times I've had to take it off work because, my son needed to go to the pediatrician, and my wife, had an OB appointment at the same time, and so we, worked together to get that covered. And so, yeah, I mean, there's definitely this feeling, I think, sometimes from these large mega corporations. We're better if our people, spend as much time as they can at the office and don't have lives outside of us and don't have families. It's funny. People always ooh and ah over these like Silicon Valley tech companies where they, offer them free breakfast bars and, you can nap at work and you can do all these things. And they offer a gym and this and that. And what's funny, what people don't realize is all those things are ploys to get their employees to spend more time at work, to make work the only thing they care about. I mean, they're essentially the same as company towns that you had in West Virginia and Pennsylvania and Ohio, where, you were paid with scripts and, that your house you lived in was owned by the company and everything about your life was essentially owned by the company. I mean, that's essentially what they're rebuilding in Silicon Valley and a few other places. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are following this model thinking it's the next best thing. In reality, it's not good for our society and our culture and our nation moving forward.
All right. You've been listening to Representative Aaron Pilkington, and you've got a brand new 1 week old. Is that correct?
So he, less than a week, he is 4 days old. So.
Very good. Congratulations. Tell your wife thank you for letting you take a little time out to call in today. I appreciate it, and I'll get you back on as things play out and we see how this goes. We get closer to the general session, and we'll talk more about your ideas and see how this thing flushes out and what the reactions. I will say this: I wish this only applied to corporations outside the state, but the reality is there are corporations inside the state that are based here that are starting to go down that slippery slope as well. Is that correct?
There are, and I don't have an entire list of those companies yet, but there are some. And once again, my hope is this bill will pass, and they're going to have to, essentially put their money where their mouth is, or they're going to have to respect the will of the Arkansas voters and the Arkansas people, and not circumvent Arkansas law. But we'll see how that goes. But my hope is some of these places will come to their senses sooner rather than later.
Very good. Aaron, I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day, and go love on your baby. I appreciate you being on the Kim Hammer Show today.
Will do. Thanks, Kim.
All right, next up, a little brighter subject. We got Shane Broadway, who's joining us online to talk about the Salt Bowl game that's going to be played tonight at War Memorial Stadium. Shane, thanks for taking a little time out. I know you're busy and your time is precious, so I appreciate you calling in just to give a little bit of an update.
I appreciate the opportunity to call in, and congratulations to Representative Pilkington and his wife on their new baby.
That is a great thing.
It is.
All right, give us the update for the game tonight, because I know people always worry about parking, security, the tailgating. What time does it start? Just go down the list, because it is one of the bigger games that's played in the state, and just kind of run down the list, give people some last-minute instructions as to what you want them to know.
I can do, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Yes, it is game day. You can still buy your tickets at any Saline County Big Red store. There may be T-shirts left. There may not be T-shirts left. So if you go to Big Red and they don't have any T-shirts, they will sell you a ticket for $15, or you can just buy it at the gate. Tickets at the gate are the same, $15 with no T-shirt. There will be a QR code if you don't want to stand in line. If you see people standing in line to get their tickets to get in the stadium, there will be a sign there. You can snap a QR code and pay right there, and then go on in and avoid the line. So we do have that option. There is a pay-per-view option. You can look on any Salt Bowl social media site that we have, Facebook, Twitter, anything. It's posted there, the link to do that. The tailgate party begins at 4. Goes from 4 to 7, and we're going to have about 80 vendors out there with a lot of things to do, and have a kids zone by Midtown Church where the kids can play and enjoy and have a great time. And there's going to be a lot of vendors out there with giveaways, so make sure you do that. Check out the War Memorial Stadium website so you know what you can and cannot bring into the stadium. It is a clear bag policy, so you want to make sure you know what you can bring into the stadium. So come out to the tailgate party. Make sure you go in probably a little bit early into the stadium. You will go through a magnetometer. We do have a security plan, thanks to you, Senator. After the incident we had a few years ago, we've got a great group of people working together that you helped put together after that game. And we've been meeting regularly, met last week to go over the final plan. We'll do a walkthrough at 4 o'clock on Saturday. We will have a lot of officers, a huge law enforcement presence from Benton, Bryant Sheriff's Office in Saline County to Little Rock State Police, everyone you could imagine. So safety is our most important thing that we want people to know and feel when they get to the stadium. But we would encourage people to go through early because you will go through the magnetometer and get your seat. And you want to be in your seat by 6:25 anyway. We're going to have a swearing in enlistment of some new Arkansas National Guard members, have the national anthem, and we'll have a flyover. So you don't want to miss that. You want to be in the stadium for the pregame show.
Okay. So refresh my memory. You may have said just a second ago, which side is Benton, which side is Bryant this year?
No, I'm glad you asked. Bryant is the home team this year. They'll be on the west side. Benton is the visitors, and they will be on the east side. There are no more seats available in the box. All of those are sold out. So the only tickets remaining are inside the stadium bowl. Okay.
And explain to folks, just so they know, if it's like it was last time, there won't be any crossing over back and forth from one side to the other. Once you get on the side you're going to be in, that's the side you got to stay on. They've got that. Do they have that corridor shut off so you can't drift back and forth?
Yeah, after the future Panthers and future Hornets run out of the tunnels will be closed off. And once you enter the Benton side, you'll stay on the Benton side. You enter the Bryant side, you'll stay on the Bryant side. You won't be able to go through the north end zone and pass around to the other side, and you're not able to leave and come back either. That's all SEC stadium, all those policies that have been in place for quite some time. So, yeah, make sure if you're a Benton fan, you come in on the east side. Make sure if you're a Hornet fan, go in on the west side.
And I was at the we had the press conference day the other day down at the CTE Center, and the coaches were up there, and the players, gave their perspective, which was a pretty good event as far as the atmosphere and the tone that was set.
We were remarking this morning that it was an outstanding event. I was really excited and pleased by it.
So as far as emphasizing what the coaches are going to focus on this time during the game, because quite honestly, Bryant, it's blown Benton out over the last 15 years. Your perspective, without putting yourself in hot water one side or the other, having listened to everything.
As I would encourage you, my answer when I was a senator was when someone would ask who's going to win, I would always say Bauxite. They play Friday night, so that was always my standard answer when I was asked. I think you're going to see a much more competitive game. Benton has a running back who is committed to the Razorbacks. He's their number one recruit for next year's class. He's just a junior. He has not scrimmaged or played yet. So his debut will be on Saturday night. I think people are going to definitely want to come out and watch him run the football because Benton has a huge offensive line. They've got a kid named Walker Davis who's an ASU commit. And they've got some big boys up on that front line. So it's going to be interesting to see the battle with Benton's offensive line versus Bryant's defense, who returns a lot of starters on the defensive side of the ball, but the defensive line may not be as big as Benton's offensive line. So I think you're going to see an intriguing matchup. Bryant obviously has a lot of talent, but you and I have been around this for a long time. I remember the years when Benton dominated too. And I think we were talking this morning, Bryant may be the dominator right now, but these things tend to cycle. You have coaching changes. You have Benton is poised to continue to grow, and I think they're only going to get bigger. And I think in a few years, this is probably going to be a conference game because Benton will be a 7A school. So I think you're going to continue to see some really good football out there, and both teams it's a rivalry game. It's the beginning of the year, so anything can happen. That's what I've always said about this game. You never know. Bryant has a sophomore quarterback. He's never started a high school game, let alone in front of 20,000, 30,000 people at Memorial Stadium. So you don't know how he's going to react. So there's a lot of storylines to the game that I think will be intriguing for somebody that wants to come out. Just any fan. We've got a guy coming from New Orleans who's part of a sports group. They cover high school sports in New Orleans. He found out about the game. I've been corresponding with him all year. He and his wife are coming up and go spend the night and go to the game. So we reach a lot of people nationally who've never heard of an event like this because it's more than a game. It's really an event that lasts all month, and you have a luncheon, and you got pep rallies where you had flyovers the other night, and you just don't see this in high school football across the country. So we're blessed to have supporters like you and sponsors in our community who allow us to do this, and it's about making a memory for these kids. It's something they're going to remember the rest of their lives, and that's what it's all about.
Hey, can you hang on a second? Can you hang on through the break for just a few more minutes? I got to take a break, and I've got a couple quick questions, and I'll let you go if you can hang on. All right, this is Kim Hammer Show. We got Shane Broadway on. We're talking about the Salt Bowl game that's going on tonight. And whether you're from Benton or Bryant or not does not matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. If you want to see a good night of football and a very good positive atmosphere, it'd be a great night to come out. Take advantage of the tailgate party that's going to be going on starting at 4 o'clock. Got a couple more questions for you when we come back from the break here on the Kim Hammer Show. Welcome back to the Kim Ham Show. We've got Shane Broadway on, talking about the Salt Bowl that's going to be taking place tonight. The one thing that you were hitting on a minute ago that I wanted to talk about as far as the quality of the teams, and one thing the coaches brought out at the press conference the other day is about the equal matchup. Over the last several years, the matchup has not been there. But you've been around high school sports for a long time. And do you find that as school choice is kind of taking a bigger role, and with, you know, the charter schools and just the shifting of the dynamics among the school districts, that the is kind of leveling out as far as schools matching up more evenly against each other? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Neil, you're going to see that this weekend. It certainly has an impact as students are able to kind of pick and choose. And sometimes it may be because they're more comfortable at a smaller school. It may be that they're more comfortable with the coach or the coaching staff in another district as opposed to the other one. And so you're going to see that the running back that I was talking about, Braylon Russell, who's the Razorback commit, he and his family moved from Hot Springs Lakeside. And so you're seeing kids gravitating to where they see. Obviously, if you've never been to Benton's facilities, they're phenomenal. Benton has great facilities there for their athletic programs for all of them. And so obviously, you know, families are looking. And the thing we've always said about Saline County especially is you come to Saline County for our schools and because it's safe. And if you ever took a poll of the people that moved to Saline County, that would probably be 1 and 2 in terms of their reasons why they did that. So yeah, I think you are seeing some shifts that way with some school districts and kids moving from one to the other to create opportunities for themselves academically and athletically.
With the growth, and you look around the schools that are, you know, here in Central Arkansas, you look up at, you know, what's happening up at Conway, you look at what's happening in Cabot, you look even what's happening here, you know, in Pulaski County and the outlying areas, and the growth of sports and the dependency, I'm going to say, of sports as far as the school districts using it as a means to draw kids. Are you finding, or do you think that is, and I know I'm kind of putting you on a spot a little bit away from softball, but listen, you got a long history of being around here too, so you've been around as long as Lakeview. Congratulations. But when you look at the schools using sports as a means to draw kids to them, just what's your observation of the landscape, and how relevant and pertinent is that, and how much is that happening out there?
I think it's happening out there, and you're talking to someone who's always going to be a huge advocate for, and I call it extracurricular activities. Not every kid's going to be an athlete. Some are going to be more interested in band, some are going to be more interested in choir, some are going to be more interested in theater or art or whatever program the school district might have. I'm a product of a coach willing to take on a kid that had no talent, but let him be on a team and gave me a place to be and not out on the street. Gave me a chance to be a part of a team and learn a lot about discipline and fundamentals and those kind of things that I carry every day with me to this day. So I've always been a big advocate for athletics or anything extracurricular that gives a kid an opportunity to find out who they are, to learn more about themselves, to be a part of a team or a group. And so I think, you know, that is, I've always said, especially at the university level, we say this, athletics are the front door to our campus because that's what everybody sees. They see the football team on a Friday night on the sports, or they hear about it on the radio. And that's kind of the entry into learning about what else the school district might have academically, other extracurricular activities and opportunities that kids have. So it is a huge and important, I think, piece of a school district or a school in terms of what they can offer a student that's going to help them to grow, help them create opportunities, and look at, what we've done together as at the Saline County Career and Technical Campus. They've got opportunities to go into a technical field that we didn't have 2 years ago. So I think having those amenities and really promoting those, I think, are a draw, certainly for us in Saline County.
Hey, one thing, can you hold on about another 15 minutes, or you got to get?
No, I'm good. I'm waiting on Representative Dotson.
Okay. Well, part of the reason, to those that are listening, Jonathan Dismain had an unexpected, and if you've been watching on Facebook, I've been texting back and forth trying to, work it out. But I'll get him on the show next week to talk about the tax thing. But we're gonna keep riding, because I wanted to take it a little bit further and ask you about a couple other things. A few weeks ago, I had Senator Missy Irvin on because she was one of the key, sponsors of the bill going way back when, dealing with school safety. One of the big issues, and I want to kind of drift back to the Salt Bowl for a minute. One of the big issues was the safety factor. You mentioned about, having Benton and Bryant there. Give people a little bit of a peace of mind as far as what they can expect when they come to the game tonight. Is it going to be safe? Is there, just focus on the security aspect of things for a second.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, after the incident back in 2018, we had a meeting. You were there the very following week, and Parks and Tourism really took the lead. They oversee, obviously, War Memorial Stadium now, and they took the lead on, putting the team together and kind of what we needed to do from there. And so we have developed a plan. We followed that plan the last few years. Obviously, the pandemic was a little bit different in terms of the amount of people in the stadium, but we've been meeting all summer. They've taken the lead. You've got, I reach out every year to Benton and Bryant, Chief Hodges, and Chief Menden and Sheriff Wright, and say, hey, can you guys offer up some officers to help us out? And they respond within a second, in terms of, yes, we're here to help. So we bring everybody together: Little Rock Police Department, Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, State Police, FBI. Anybody in law enforcement is in that room. And so we all sit down together and kind of work through a plan. They now have, War Memorial Stadium now has a centralized command center that's on the west side of the stadium. Each law enforcement agency will have one of their officers stationed in that room throughout the entire game. So they will be monitoring radio traffic. They'll be monitoring the cameras throughout the stadium and outside the stadium and the parking lots. And then we all operate off the same system. We all have an app on our phone for if a child is missing from their parents. Everybody, all the officers and all of us who are involved with the game, we immediately know it. We immediately can start searching or looking and directing people in a way. So anytime anything happens, hopefully nothing happens, but anytime anything happens, we have the ability to talk to one another directly, which is one thing we really didn't have that night back in 2018. I was trying to radio up to the press announcer to try to get them to, encourage everybody to stay in the stadium and all those kinds of things. And we just didn't have that kind of radio system that night. So we do have that now. When people enter the stadium and are around in the tailgate area, they're going to see a number of officers out there in uniform. There's going to be a lot of people not in uniform who are also officers, so keep that in mind as well. And then when you leave the stadium that night, you will see a lot of police lights. They're going to turn their lights on. We have brought in extra lighting. Benton and Bryant, I think, are both sharing some of their lighting systems, bringing those up on trailers. And so there'll be a lot of lighting out in the parking lot as you exit the stadium. And so we believe we have a plan in place to keep everyone safe. That's our first and foremost priority for our fans and players, is that they feel safe coming to the stadium, safe attending the ball game, and safe leaving to go home. So, but everybody has worked together. It's been really wonderful to see all of that come together. and nobody putting up a barrier saying, hey, that's my territory or this is my territory. Everybody's working together, working collaboratively, and it's really, the pandemic was kind of a trial run for us. In some ways, that was a blessing in that we didn't have a huge crowd to really kind of implement it, that first time or second time. So we've had a couple of runs where we've been able to implement the plan. Hopefully we're going to have a much bigger crowd this time, and we're ready for it.
Well, you focus on a very important point because, quite honestly, just to be direct, the ability to feel safe when you come into Little Rock has been a little bit in question lately, and the fact that the perimeter, as far as where because I know sometimes people park down toward UAMS and they park up on the other top up there by the zoo. The presence of law enforcement is going to be beyond the parking lot. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. You'll see people throughout, and you may see people like I said, are plain clothes that are going to be out there. But there are law enforcement officers. You may just not realize that.
Okay, and the game going to be televised this year because I know it is because at the press conference the other day you said that people could actually buy a package. Talk about that for a second.
There is a pay-per-view option for anyone who doesn't want to come. We have a lot of people who like to bring their whole family together and watch it in the comforts of their home, and I certainly understand that. And we certainly still have people who are not comfortable going out into a large stadium yet because of the pandemic. So we've had the pay-per-view option for the last few years. If you go to the Salt Bowl Facebook page or the Salt Bowl Twitter page, you will find the information where you can go and purchase that. And you will get a code that you will enter, and so you'll be able to view the game. Plug your phone into your TV or however you do it. You can watch it from your phone or iPad or plug into your TV. I think is what I know some people are going to do, and gather their family and have a cookout, and that's great.
Yep.
Because all the proceeds go to both schools the same way as if you buy a ticket at the stadium.
The weather forecast, just looking at it, make sure nothing's changed. It has turned out to be a beautiful day, and it looks like it's going to end up being a beautiful night after the sun goes down. If you're on the visitor side, you suffer until that sun goes down. Yeah, but I remember some years in the past, when it was one of those 100-degree days, it was an even worse experience. But tonight is shaping up to be a pretty night. By the time that sun goes down, it ought to be pretty good football weather, I think.
Yeah. I think it's going to be great, especially for August. I think it's going to be great weather tonight. I think everybody's just ready for football. I think everybody's kind of ready to get back out. It's been a long, hot summer, and I think everybody's just kind of ready to be around one another again. And that's the thing I enjoy. Probably the two things of this game I enjoy the most. The press conference is becoming one of my favorites, but the tailgate party itself, and then when the kids, the future Panthers and the future Hornets, when they get to run out, that was the special thing the other day when one of the Benton players had a photo of him on the field because he got to run out when he was 6 years old, and now here he is in his senior year playing in the Salt Bowl. That's what's special about it. That's why we put all this time and effort into it. It's for these kids to have a memory. And when he showed me that, you kind of get a little emotional. He's like, oh my gosh, So, so it's really special, and so I think everybody's ready to be together again, and it's going to be a fun night. There'll be a lot of things out there in the vendor area that people will want to grab and take home with them. So I'm looking forward to Saturday night.
All right, I tell you what, let's begin to wrap it up a little bit because there is one other thing I wanted to go back and talk about. You brought it up, and the CTE Center out there. I talked to Scott the other day. I think he said the enrollment's around 650, 675. I may be off a little bit on that, but things are off to a good start out at the CTE Center.
Yeah, very excited. The number will settle in, somewhere between 630 and 650 by the time you get, and they probably had kids who walked in on Friday that have been added into a class. So we'll know usually around the 11th class day, kind of the number kind of settles out, and we'll have a good idea. But certainly, last year we had 403, so you're definitely going to be well over 600 this year, which is a good number. We wanted to grow, but you don't want to grow too fast, to kind of overwhelm the staff. This is still a kind of a new concept, second year in that building, still things we're learning about it. But we did add, we had 8 programs last year. You got 10 programs this year. So it is exciting to see it, really starting to take off. Now you've got ASU Three Rivers is offering adult courses. We're doing a CNA program in nursing that's being offered at night. And so There's been conversations. You were a part of a conversation with the superintendents. They're in a need for more teachers. And so we've been working with Three Rivers and Henderson State University about offering those opportunities for paraprofessionals that we hope to offer this fall for them. So you're going to start seeing a trickling in of more college-level courses at nights and weekends and summers, while during the day is still primarily a focus on the high school students.
Which is a good thing, because when you look at the population of the area and the draw, the catch pool, if you would, and where that thing is strategically located, when they get that construction done, which can't be soon enough, but it is what it is. It is going to be easy on, easy off, very accessible. Yeah. One of the new programs that's coming down there that people need to know about, because it's being placed actually 3 different places in the state, and I'll get the broadband folks back on here to talk about it more. But one of the new programs coming out there at CTE Center is that they're actually going to install a tower in order to teach and to certify individuals to work on these cell phone towers that are going up around the state. Anything you can shed or share about that?
Yeah, it's exciting. I appreciate your leadership on that issue. It is a significant need out there because everyone has been talking about broadband for a long time. I remember Representative Fite coming to me one morning when I was still in the Senate, and he said, "Hey, he called. He was county judge, and said he had a guy call him and said he had a constitutional right to high-speed internet." I mean, it's a huge issue if you don't have access to the internet to be able to function in daily life anymore. And so, but in order for that internet to get to mine in your home, you got to have someone who has the ability to install that or put up that tower where we can get the signal to our phones. And so, I appreciate your leadership and Senator English and many others who were involved and help crafting that with the Office of Skills Development. But yeah, I looked in the room the other day with the lab where they're going to bring in some of the smaller towers where they'll be able to train the students. And so we're excited to get that program off the ground this fall, and certainly by next spring, I expect that you'll have a number of students enrolled in that program.
Well, and I think people are continuing to open up to the realization that we've got to use the CTE centers to prepare the workforce to go out there. I know Cabot the other day, I read that they're actually offering a program, and I'd like to see that happen down there in Saline County too, or Faulkner County. I don't care where it is. I think as long as we don't get territorial and we can share good ideas, but like Cabot is, working with their student population to certify and get them trained, to be able to come out and be ahead in the volunteer fire department or in the fire department world. But all those good ideas, if we can get it instilled in the kids when they're younger, hopefully we will be raising up a generation that has a different set of work ethics to come out prepared to go into the workforce.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. There's so many kids who fall through the cracks because there's a perception that they have to go to a university, and I've never been one who has ever said that. There are people who are going to go to Fayetteville or UCA or ASU who are going to succeed and do very well, but there are a lot of kids who there's an opportunity out there for them to have a great life that does not require a 4-year degree, and it may be that they start out doing that and eventually get a 4-year degree. So having the program that we have out there is going to give those 600 kids an opportunity to have a life that they probably 2 years ago didn't even imagine they could have. And so it's exciting to be a part of it. It's exciting to see those kids. Benton brought in every 9th grader, 8th or 9th grader over but before the school ended last spring. They brought all those kids out there to tour it, every single 9th grader. And, those kids are like, wow, we didn't know this was here. And because of the pandemic, we didn't get to take a lot of people out there when it first opened. But exposing these kids to what's possible, they see that, and I think you're just going to see it continue to grow.
Talk about Henderson for a second, because you are with ASU and you took Henderson. Give us the update on Henderson, because they struggled for a while. Had a chance, visit with the chancellor the other day. Just go ahead and give people a little bit of a direction, because there are quite a few students from this area that are heading to Henderson or headed to Henderson for school this fall. Just go ahead, because it's been in the news, so let me give you a platform to talk about Henderson.
Well, I appreciate that. We're starting to see progress. It's going to be slow. It's going to take some time. We're trying to reimagine what college can be for students. And and really are developing some great ideas for the future. But right now, we got some good news last week. The Higher Learning Commission, which is our accrediting body, they removed the financial distress designation because of some of the actions we took last spring by declaring financial exigency and reducing some of our staff. Tough decisions nobody wants to make. Obviously, you don't want anybody to lose their position, but in order to keep the university viable, there were decisions that had to be made. And so they've removed that designation, which helps with our accreditation and helps us to move forward. Enrollment will be down, but it's not down as much as I expected or any of us expected it to be. We were all pleasantly surprised. We'll have the 11th day number on Monday. That's kind of the number that everyone looks at because things kind of settle out. Students drop, students come in, and the 11th class day is kind of the number. So we'll have a better idea on Monday what that number looks like. But it definitely is a higher enrollment, and most importantly, we have an increase in freshmen this year over last year's freshman class and in graduate students. And so that is a huge positive. Some of the students we lost, part of the financial issue was because they were scholarshiping so many kids that the university really wasn't taking in any money. And so a lot of the kids, we think at the end of the day are ones that are not coming back were those kids. So the financial situation starts to look a little bit better. So long way to go. We've got some other projects in the pipeline that we're working on. And then the Chancellor and Chancellor Wilk at ASU Three Rivers and all the Saline County superintendents, you were at the meeting, are working on a plan, what we call the I-30 Education Corridor, how we can seamlessly transition kids from Saline County all the way through the process and get them a degree. I've been meeting with folks from Arizona State University who have really kind of cornered the concept and the idea. It's really intriguing, really interesting, and our hope is to kind of take some things we're learning from them and implement them here that we think will be beneficial to students, not just to Henderson or at ASU Three Rivers, but more importantly to students, and get them a degree in a shorter amount of time where they have to take out fewer loans.
Which is a good thing, which, when you talk about the student debt that they took on and, in the world of higher institution financing, if you are an institution that's giving out more scholarships and you have to back up, you're pretty well just shooting yourself in the foot, and the inevitable is going to happen.
That's exactly right.
So I appreciate the leadership down there because, as you mentioned, it is tough decisions and it impacts the community. I know Arkadelphia has been impacted by that, but playing the long game and looking to the future, whether you're dealing with higher institution or whether you're dealing with, K-12 or state government, whatever, if we can build financial strength, especially with probably what's coming up in the next year or two with the, potential recession right here. Well, my opinion, we're in it. It's just going to get worse before it gets better. Just, batten down the hatches because here we go.
Plow through it.
Yeah, that's right. Plow through it. And, just the willingness of the institution down there and the leadership to be able to kind of right the ship, sort of say, give you long-term sustainability. I'll give a shout out. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Representative Julie Mayberry's daughter is enrolled down there. If I caught Facebook right.
Yeah, she's a freshman, along with, and one of her roommates is the daughter of Benton head football coach Brad Harris.
There you go.
We're excited to have them down there this year.
That's great. That's great. Okay, one last thing I want to ask you. What about the Battle of the Ravine down there, the game? You got any predictions on that? If I'm going to put you on the spot between Wausau and Henderson.
Of course, I'm on the side with Henderson on that one, and I'm excited. If you've never experienced it, this year Henderson, the game will be at Henderson. I had so much fun last year. It was the Chancellor's first opportunity to do it. And so our kids from Henderson walked across, they stopped traffic on the highway, and our kids walked across to OBU. And if you've never experienced the walk from one side of the highway to another to go play a football game, it's a unique experience. If you love football, college football, it needs to be on your bucket list to attend. And the game is always fantastic. So it will be the last game of the year. I think it's around November the 12th or something this year. Hang on, I can say real quick.
I think that's the opening weekend of deer season.
It is. So it'll be at 1 o'clock, so you can go deer hunt and just come in your camo. Would love to have you.
Very good. All right, we've talked about a lot of stuff I didn't have on the schedule. I'll try to get Senator Jonathan Dist on next time. But Shane, I appreciate you pitch hitting, and I hope everybody's been tolerant of the adjustment to the program. I'm going to let you go so you can get to it, and I'll see you tonight at the game, and appreciate you being on to talk about the Salt Bowl. All right, this is Kim Hammer on the Kim. All right, thanks, Shane. This is Kim Hammer on the Kim Hammer Show. I'm just going to leave you with this note. Put your guard up because the liberals are just really getting a little bit more crazy. California this past week set to ban sales of gas-powered vehicles by 2035. I just want you to get your mind around that. And then they're going to try to forgive all the student debt, which is one that has paid off student debt. I got a little bit of a resentment toward that because I was able to do what I had to do because you do what you got to do in order to meet your obligations. I got a little resentment toward that. I don't know if you feel that way, but we'll pick that up on a future show to talk about some of these issues. Thank you for joining me here on the Kim Hammer Show today. And don't forget, if you don't have plans tonight, get out to War Memorial. Safe environment, good environment, and just come watch a great football game tonight at War Memorial. Have a great afternoon.